Assalamu'Alaikum everyone, and welcome back to the GPVWC Academy series, or at least my highlights of it. It is the 4th round of the championship, my 2nd round of the season, and we're at the Dubai International Circuit, and as you may be able to see, it's very bumpy. Coming up is my best lap of the session, so why don't we ride on board and I'll talk you guys through the lap of what is a very difficult circuit in the Middle East. At least I found it difficult. I put in a bit of practice to try to get to grips with the track. As always, running with default setup. So for turn 1, we're all the way on the left hand side and we're braking at about 65 meters, 4th gear. Try to keep it tight for as long as possible before jumping back on the power and then cutting through turn 2 to minimize the distance. Now turns 3 and 4 are completely flat, or just one long turn 3. You can ride the curb at the end before heading into the left kink. Again, use the curb, drop it down into 4th gear for this right-hander. Back on the power as you drop it into 3rd and turn in as early as possible to use up all of the curb and cut through onto this short stretch before a very long left-hander. Keep the car on the right, and we turn in a bit too early. We could have turned in a little late, and this kind of washes us out wide too soon. I did have a lap after this, and I was up 2 tenths by the end of the lap, and I think one of the tenths came from that corner, but sadly I bottled it in the final few corners. Now this is probably my favourite corner of the circuit because you can brake so late for it. About 80 meters down into 2nd gear, using up all of the curb on the entry and then back on the power as aggressively as possible. For this left-hander, you want to get a late apex so you can step on the power without losing the rear end as you make your way up to the next hairpin on the circuit. Braking at about 60 meters down into 2nd, you want to clip the curb on corner exit, straighten up the wheel, and then cut right through the track so you're going minimal distance. Some people keep it out wider on the right. I don't think there's any need to, because you're not scrubbing off any speed in the process. Braking at about 50 meters, diagonally turning it in. It might be quicker for a later turn in, but I find it more consistent to turn in earlier and then hold it tight. Flat out through this right-hander, off camber, very easy to lose the rear end. And then the final corner, braking at about 45 meters, 3rd gear, and then just pray that the front end sticks and get on the power as early as you dare, because the car does stick to the track. And that completes a lap here at Dubai. It was a 53.2. My best that I did in practice was a 52.8. Another time, this was provisional pole, but Harvig himself did improve. I think he put in a 52.9, which was the best time Harvig's ever done here. So good stuff from Matthias, but it does mean we are starting in 2nd. And when we compare that to Istanbul, where we qualified in 13th, I'll definitely take it. Again, no setup, so pretty happy with that qualifying session. It was one of the best times I've pulled out at the track. Yes, there was a couple more tenths, but I don't think I would have beaten Harvig anyway. Either way then, it turns out that you don't actually want to warm up your tyres prior to the start, because the tyres function better when they're a little bit cooler. But we line up on our grid box and we wait for the rest of the field to follow in behind us. Now we do have the inside down to turn 1. We get the revs up as 10 red lights are in front of us. We drop the clutch into 1st gear and we get a decent getaway. I feel like in these academy cars you can't really get a much better start than someone else. So we tuck in behind Matthias Harvig as early as possible when we start to get the effects of slipstream. Harvig goes defensive, so we look to the outside and we brake a bit too late. We understeer wide on the dirty stuff off the grippy line and we come down in 4th. Mashihaila, I think, tries to slam the door on us, but we're there. We have none of it. We just have a little touch of a front to rear wheels as we now make our way into the long right-hander. 4th gear, not the best of starts. I would have, ideally wanted a better start and to be in 3rd, or be in 2nd, but it is what it is. We're in 4th. Yeah, I do look a bit stupid having made that mistake, but let's get our heads down, because we know that in terms of raw pace we are as quick, if not quicker, than Matthias Harvig. And I did a practice run before this and I was just pumping in just consistent mid-54s every single lap. So I had a lot of confidence coming into this. As we head into the hairpin, we go really late on the brakes and we have a look to the inside. But Mashihaila's just late enough on the brakes and we're able to stop the car before there's any contact between the pair of us. Honestly, that off-camber left corner, it's just really bumpy, this circuit, and it makes the tyres work a lot harder than is otherwise necessary, as Mashihaila goes for a slightly earlier apex than what I was anticipating anyway. So we slot in behind Mashi on the run towards this left hand, and maybe we could have a look down the inside. There's a few overtaking opportunities actually available, as again we go for that early apex, and we have to think about getting our nose up the inside. We make a bit of contact. Again, stupid place for me to put my nose, and as a result, we now lose 8/10 to Mashi Hyla. So, just dumb stuff. But anyway, I was fairly confident in my ability, so I wanted to test out stuff. And this guy behind me sends his nose. I don't know what you guys think. I don't think I did anything wrong there. I just took my line and he put his nose in and it went badly for him. Either way, later on, coming towards the end of lap 2, Mashi Hyla runs a bit wide. We try to get the exit, but we don't quite get it. Slotting in behind then through the penultimate corner, the rear end steps out on us momentarily. But all's well that ends well into the final corner. Again, we're going for a much earlier apex than those guys ahead. I don't know how, but they were able to get that front end turned in. It might just be a setup difference, or they're just driving it way better than me, which is likely the case. I look for the inside, which never really works, but I thought, you know what, I'll give it a try. I was way too late on the brakes, or way too early on the brakes to make that move stick. So we're still down in 4th, and right now we're just prodding our nose, trying to see if an opportunity can present itself to us as Thailand looks to the inside. We stay on the outside. I probably should have stuck in the slipstream itself, but down into 2nd gear, and we close right back up onto Mashi Hyla and Lucas at Thailand. But will we get an opportunity to go for a move? We get a really good run coming out of the left-hander, and maybe we could have a send into this right hairpin. We're very late on the brakes, but not quite late enough, and I didn't actually want to go for the move, and I think Lucas braked a bit earlier than I was expecting, so I just jammed on the brakes a bit harder, or just try to get the car stopped quicker so that I didn't run into the back of Thailand. Into this left hand again, we're really late on the brakes, looking for that late apex, but it's just so bumpy, it unsettles the car. Try to keep the wheel straight over the bumps as you get the power on, so you don't do a George Russell at Imola. But coming to the end of the 4th lap, again, we have another little look, this time down the inside into the final corner, and yeah, I tried to get on the power as early as possible, but again, couldn't really get a good run on Thailand or Hyla, whoever was ahead of us. As now we are on the 5th lap of the race, and both Mashi Hyla and Lucas Thailand run wide coming out of the hairpin onto the back straight. Will this present an opportunity for us? Because Hyla and Thailand are practically side by side. We're closing in. We're going to have a look to the inside, and over the bumps the car just becomes so skittish. But we're able to get up the inside. We're going to have a quick look to our right, and we see Thailand there, so we can't turn across him. We've got a slot in behind, and at this point, I think you can see Matthias Harvig has pulled about 4 seconds or something ridiculous while we're stuck behind these two, unable to find a way through. I was fairly confident that if I was able to get past, it would be fine. 54.8 this time round, nothing special. Just trying to keep it consistent, and you can already see the shaking in the steering wheel. I pushed too hard in the first few laps, and kind of destroy the tyres in the process as Hyla goes down the inside into turn 1. We try to get a good exit. Now Hyla and Thailand are side by side, so we decide to stick in behind Thailand, which turns out to be the right choice. Through the long right hander, we get the job done. We're up into P3, into the podium spot. As into the double right hander we go, and we just want to make sure that we don't give an opportunity for Hyla to get back past us. And now that we're up into 3rd, my mind was essentially I want to get past Lucas as quickly as possible, as I got slightly caught out by how early Lucas lifted off to turn in or whatever, and as a result I had to dab on the brakes to avoid myself hitting his rear. Nothing Lucas did wrong, I just got slightly caught out. As we get the slipstream from Lucas Thailand, you can see, just look how much the steering wheel's shaking as we jump onto the brakes really late. We try to hold it around the outside of Thailand, but unsuccessfully, and Thailand holds on to that P2 spot for now, at least anyway. And honestly, at this point I knew that Matthias Harvig was too far up the road, and I don't know, I just completely outbraked myself into that corner. I did find it very weird. It felt like I was braking at my usual spots, but missing the apexes massively, so I don't really know why. Is Mashi Hyla getting very close to the rear of us? We jump on the brakes and he taps our rear, and he goes off sideways. I think he got upset with me for turning across him under the braking zone, but that's my line. I don't know, maybe the others don't turn in that early, and if that's the case, then I apologise, because it wasn't my intention to turn across them under the braking. That's just how I take the corner. But either way, we're on the back of Lucas Stylen, who's going defensive at the start of lap 7 of the race. This means that we're going to have to look for the outside. We pull over to the outside, jump on the brakes at about 70 meters. We're not going to make the same mistake we did on lap 1, trying to hold it around the outside, so we get a good exit. Now, maybe we could have a look for the outside into the double right-hander, but yeah, again, not much grip. We've got to lift a bit just to make sure the front end of the car actually sticks and turns in. And we're going to hold on to P3. We've got a 2-second gap to Parker behind us, and then Mashi Hyler a further couple of seconds back. So for now, it's just take our time and try to wait for the right moment to strike on Lucas Stylen. Again, we turn him much earlier than Stylen for this banked left-hander that leads on to the back straight, or the second main straight. I don't know what you want to call it. There's 2 back straights, so yeah, make of it what you will. We look for the outside once again, Lucas Stylen on the inside, but this time we're not going to look to try to hold it around the outside. This time we look for the switchback, and we actually get a pretty good switchback. We can see Stylen on our inside, so we try to get the run coming out of the left-hander, and we get very close to Stylen, close enough that we can go down the inside into the hairpin. We get it stopped, we get it turned in, and we get the job done. So I was actually really happy with this move. I think it was a decent one. Now we got Lucas Stylen right on our rear end. We don't want to let him send us down the inside into the left-hander. So we brake as late as I dare. Go for that same diagonal braking because, well, it's just the easier way to take the corner consistently, and it stops anyone sending it down your inside as well. And with that, we are up into P2, so I can try to get my head down and try to push and try to pull a nice gap to Lucas Stylen. However, later on the lap, we've got Lucas Stylen closing up to us, and I feel like I brake at the same point as always, but this time I run wide, and it allows Lucas Stylen to get past us, which I was very annoyed by that, because I don't know, I felt like I was braking at my normal point. Maybe the tyres just didn't have the grip to do that, and yeah, it did catch me out massively. The fact that was an actual thing, I want to say. Either way, though, on lap 9, we're closing back up to Lucas Stylen. So, can we have another go on the back straight? Look at that steering wheel. It's shaking all over the place. I'm trying to keep that in a straight line right now. That's just how much the steering wheel is shaking. Again, we slow it down into second gear. We run wide. The back end steps out as we try to get on the power. Again, it was just a case of me out-braking myself, which felt very weird as the rear steps out through the left hand. I think the tyres were just shot. I didn't look after them properly, and I think that's something that I have to learn and take in for the next races. Now, on lap 11, we've got Mashi Hyler right behind us, but rear end again stepping out. I think that's the big learning curve for me. I think last time it was a case of, getting quicker at Istanbul. And here I found the pace, but I just didn't have the race awareness, I guess, to manage tyres and do all of that stuff, especially on a very bumpy circuit. Right, take a look at this, guys. I don't know what you think, because Mashi Hyler, he locks up, he hits me in the rear end as he spins, and he takes a position. So, yeah, I wasn't too happy about that one. I told him after the race that was a bit dirty, and I got the response of, well, you can talk. So, yeah, he wasn't very happy with me for probably that incident before in the same corner, and I wasn't too happy with him for that one. But either way, P4, which we'll take considering the horrors of Istanbul. Again, we had good pace, but the issue is we just weren't able to convert it at all. So, heading into our second race, we're now starting from P7. The grid reverse was around P10 as we get a little bump from Hyler on the run towards the grid. But with Mashi Hyler and Matthias Harvig behind us, this is a good opportunity for us to be able to take a win. Now, I couldn't actually see the lights here, so I had to listen. So I kind of just had to guess when the lights went out, because I couldn't actually see the lights themselves. So that was a bit of a risky one. So I just had to wait to hear the lights going out. Thankfully, we get a decent start as we've got Harvig right behind us, who's actually shot off the line And Hyler's gone down his inside, which we can see in the wing mirrors as we try to get a run on Mr. Parker. We're on the outside. Can we hold it all the way around the outside? We can see Jack Parker starting to understeer. A bit of contact between the two of us. And then I think he lifts off going into that left-hander, which caught me off. And as a result, we make a bit of contact. Into this right-hander we go. And I try to turn for the apex. His front nose is still there. Maybe I shouldn't have gone for that. And now this is allowing Mashi Hyler to get into the mix. And I was still a little bit upset with him at this point, so I did not want to make it easy. Now, ordinarily, I might have left some space for him, but this time, I was just saying, nope, I'm going to slam that door shut on you. I'm not, I'm not playing nice. I'm going to, drive to the absolute limit. I try to shut the door, but I do it a little bit late, so I give Hyler the room on the outside. I brake as late as I dare, and I get the car stopped. I make the apex, and, Hyler hits me, is my view of that one. He wasn't alongside me at the braking zone. He wasn't alongside me at the apex. And yeah, I just go too late on the brakes into that. I would have made the corner anyway. But yeah, I underestimated when everyone will brake. So sorry to Camille Lopet for that. And then big sorry to Camille Lopet for this, because I looked for the Mashi Hyler move down the inside. And then I realized Camille Lopet is going for the early turn in as well. So that's entirely on me. That was really stupid. I was way too hot-headed halfway through the lap, and then Lopet loses the rear end. I asked him after the race. He said it wasn't due to our contact. He said his car was fine. So at least I didn't ruin his race, but yeah, he loses the back end. We're up to P4, and I was feeling a bit bad about the incident with Lopet, but all that was left was to try to get our heads down and push on. Lap 4 of the race. We're behind Joffert and Stoffmeal as we get very close to them on the run into turn 1. And we get a good exit too. Whether we can find a way through on Joffert, we'll have to wait and see. We actually have to give it a little bit of a lift going into the double right-hander so that we don't run into the back of his car. And then jump onto the brakes for the other double right-handers. There's actually quite a few double right-handers. Wait, there's 2 double right-handers. That's not a few. That's, yeah. 2 double right-handers. There you go. Anyway, we're very close to Joffa, and we lift off going into this. We don't want to run into the back of him, and I was trying my best not to make the same stupid mistakes that I did on the opening lap. Now, we get a good run on Joffet, so can we look to the inside? We're going to poke our nose to the outside before then deciding, you know what, I want to go to the inside. Joffet tries to close it off, but we find some space anyway. We jump onto the brakes, and we outbrake ourselves, and I kind of forgot the lesson I learned in Turkey, that if you're not braking on the racing line, your braking distance extends rather considerably. So I should have braked earlier, and then on the back of Joffer once again. Now, I should have lifted out of that, but yeah, I should have lifted out. I think Joffer was a bit dirty, a little bit, not a lot. The main reason I say that is because he had moved, and then he moved again when I then committed more, and it was hard for me to back out as we look for the inside of Harvig, but we lift off so we don't make contact because we were understeering out, and then we just jump onto the brakes a little bit earlier so we don't make any contact. We look to get the better exit coming out this right-hander, but Harvig parks on the apex, which means that we can't get the run coming out of the corner. Now, slightly later on lap 6, Harvig goes round the outside of Joffer. They make contact, and, I just say thank you very much for the position as I move up into P4 now. And Matthias Harvig now battling with Mark McNaughton, coming towards the end of lap 8, and there's contact between the pair of them. Who's at fault? I don't know. It looked like they were both out wide, so McNaughton thought he had left enough room, but Harvig hadn't started turning in yet. Either way, it means that we are up to P3, and on lap 12, the final lap of the race, we've got a 1.5 second gap to McNaughton behind us. Stoffmeal leads the race, and yeah, that's about it. It wasn't the best of runs. I think I could have got more, but a P4, a P3, not terrible. I kind of expected a P1 and a P3 coming into this, considering my pace in the practice server, but it is what it is. So yeah, that is this highlight video done and dusted. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll be back in 2 weeks time for the next GPVWC Academy race, which is at some random track in New Zealand that I've never heard of before. So it should be some good fun to practice for that, and we'll see what we can do. Until then, cheerio and Assalamu'Alaikum.